I had a response video to Remy, of all people. Remy. I made a video directed at me, so and it was nice and polite too. Unlike Stickcam does get a little heated, spontaneous argument, sometimes a little difficult to not get personal. And unfortunately, between me and Remy, it does get a little personal sometimes. Because he wants to personalize it all, and he still sort of does it in his video. What we're really ultimately talking about, like I said, this was just about you wanting to live your life and somebody else wanting to live their life, and fine. Yeah, it's go ahead, do whatever you want to do. But it's about what the future is going to be and the psychology that's going to own the future. And the Modern Mystic posted one of my videos, and it's probably one of the best videos I ever made, and I put it on the wrong, I just throw it in the junk channel. But I'll post a link to it because I watched it again. I said, gee, yeah, that was a really good video. I really should have put it on the regular channel. But anyway, this is about psychology, but it's about the truth, because the truth is the context by which we have to judge our psychology. And it does take place. I mean, I know my psychology wouldn't be what it is if I didn't learn that I was full of shit, and then try to somehow find a bridge between what I wanted and what I thought was valuable and what I knew intellectually was valuable. And some of those bridges you can build, and so you can change some things in your life, and your psychology will start to fit into that idea. And that's going to have some negative consequences, obviously. If your philosophy is kind of negative, then yeah, your psychology is going to pay a price for that. And no doubt that has taken place in my life over time. But that's certainly a price I would be willing to pay, just because, yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd rather be believing I knew the truth than living a lie, or feeling a lie. So you didn't really get to the substance. I mean, I don't want to. It was a good video you made, but and it was fairly fair. And it's this question of quantifying the value of pain and pleasure. And I guess how I'll simply argue this is that there's no personal interpretation, values, or any other crap that goes into common suffering, common miseries we can describe. For example, dying of cholera or something. That's sort of a quantity, and it really doesn't matter what psychology you put it in, it's still going to be the same thing. The same amount of physical sensation, negative unpleasantness is going to be endured. Maybe some people are going to be more stressed than others, of course, all that kind of crap, but basically you get my point. Somebody's not going to be able to say, it's not something where nuance, like, it's not frosting on an ice, on a cake or something. It's not some kind of trivial thing. Whereas our pleasures are often quite trivial. You described music and how it impacts you. Well, we could also describe a psychology, that's out at the old ball game, rooting for the home team. And you could say, well, there's a psychology in pleasure. But it's trivial and silly. And we can go to each pleasure and we can find the triviality in it, the superficialness in it. I'll concede. I mean, the greatest satisfying, pleasurable, fulfilling moment in my life, when looked at, was trivial when taken apart, and it has to do with that word love even. God forbid somebody should declare that trivial, but it's made out of bullshit. It's made out of need and insecurity and dependency and desire and lust and a lot of things that are just shit. And so it's an illusion of our brain that we are doing something, or we are glorifying something that has earned the glory. It's an exaggerated perception, and that's why I use the word addiction to describe this crap. It's because that's an exaggerated, it's a perverted attachment that's just built out of a dependency. It's not built out of anything that's real in what's being desired. So that's why I would argue that although desire is a compelling thing and satisfaction is compelling, it is a different kind of currency. And so there is, as I stated in another video, you've got to convert the quantity, and in that transaction, I think pleasure gets diminished in its value, in its real value. Its value in our practical world is powerful because we are the desire machines. It feeds our desire. So of course it blinds us to a lot. And I just think you haven't undone the addiction metaphor. You can laugh at it, you can ridicule it, but you haven't logically undone it. It is about addiction. It is preposterous evaluations done on a subjective level to create illusions of comfort and appreciation and joy even, that are often humiliating. I mean, there are people who enjoy watching other people get hurt. And I have the sports analogy just as, for me, is a good one for me, just because I find it embarrassing that human beings entertain themselves that way, that they don't force human beings to have a more sophisticated contest. If they're gonna love a competition, they should love one that's about something a little more impressive than kicking balls back and forth. I mean, it's embarrassing that we're still playing caveman games. I mean, they're really stupid games. And it goes to all, we see it operate in our society and our culture. This is a powerful force. It's a powerful force that has little substance behind it. And that's why, like I said, I'm still going to make the argument that you've got to find more reason to justify human existence when you put the suffering on one side of the scale. You've got to do more than, say, music appreciation on the other side, or baseball fun, or watching the great heroic American Idol contestant go to victory. There's got to be more on this side of the scale, because that's just not good enough, in my opinion. Like I said, it's hard to rationalize. It's hard to put into a logical equation these things, because it's so hard to rationally interpret our subjective experience. I mean, that's the important point I guess I would make, is that we can get we can see the important shapes. We might not be able to see the detail, but we can get the idea of horrific suffering and superficial pleasure. We can see that that's the substance of these shapes. And you apparently are going to argue with that reality, and I just haven't heard the argument. I mean, I think that's the rational interpretation. And so if you've got some other argument to make that somehow your music appreciation thing really is enough to justify the blood and the guts and the constant struggle and the want and the egos and the nonsense going on and on and on. And again, this conversation is about the on and on and on part. If like I say, if I could condition every psychology that was going to be born tomorrow to be Remy-like and to be thirsty enough to justify holocausts and to justify every debauchery and mistake the human race has made, and to justify every natural horror that exists in the world, every circumstance of animals, living for 3 years and being brutally crushed, and then fine. If that's how every psychology is going to be born, then I guess you can justify your existence that way. But I mean, I don't think you can justify it rationally, but I guess on an ethical, humans arguing with humans scale, there might be some hope for you. But that's not the reality. The reality is that projecting into the future, you're going to create lots of human beings who are going to say, why the fuck am I in this game? I don't have a horse running here. I don't have near enough desire-y thing to be doing all the stomping and crushing and killing and destroying that this is built on. I guess another way to metaphorize it is to say this is the stadium that we're playing this life game in is dependent on a whole structure of life on Earth, okay, that has all this carnage in it, and so that's part of the price of admission. And I guess I'd like you to do something to that argument, to that metaphor, to explain how we aren't built on it existing, because we are built on its existence. We're dependent on that system existing to be here. And so that makes us sort of responsible, since we have the intelligence now to do something about what we are dependent on, and whether that should continue or not. And so give me your rationale for why all these questions should be ignored, and we all should just don't worry, be happy, because that's essentially what you're saying.